Well, I am here with Naveen Jain, who's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, billionaire, and driven to solve the world's biggest challenges through innovation. He's the founder of several successful companies, including Moon Express, Wyome, Blue Dot, TalentWise, Intellis, and InfoSpace. And Moon Express is the only company to have permission from the U.S. government to leave the Earth orbit and land on the moon. Wow. What's that like to be involved in landing on the moon?
We're going to talk about that, won't we?
I'm just don't even know where to start with you because you've done so many amazing things. How do you get from, you were born in India, right?
Yes.
How do you get from, I read you had very little money and now you're a billionaire. What was the big change that got you to this point?
And I really think, like anyone else, the biggest hurdle we have in terms of becoming successful is our mindset. So having a mindset of I can't do it, it's not possible, or this is too difficult, it's not for me, it's only for rich people, it's only the people who come from people who have connections, it's all about who you know. And you come up with every possible reasons not to do something.
Right.
And all it takes really is that mindset of why can't I do it? Every time when you see a problem, don't ask, why can't someone do something about it? You start saying, what can I do about it? And that changes everything. The minute you start to see that this is a big problem, you don't think of it as a big problem. You say, this is a big opportunity. And that is the mindset of possibilities, mindset of abundance. And rather than thinking that things are in limited quantity and they're scarce. And that's the reason we assign value to things, because we believe they are scarce. If somehow we believed that things were in abundance, we will stop assigning value to it and we'll stop fighting over it, right? So today we fight over land, we fight over water, and we fight over energy. But we don't fight over air. We don't fight over oxygen.
Right.
But we believe it is in abundance. Mm-hmm. But what if energy becomes the next oxygen? Energy becomes the next air. So imagine every 90 minutes on planet Earth, the more solar energy falls on planet Earth every 90 minutes than we use in the whole year. It's just simply a matter of conversion.
Right.
The technology will come along, we'll be able to convert all these energy that we're getting into useful energy, and then we will have abundance of energy. And then once you get abundance, it becomes democratic and it becomes demonetized. That means everybody has it and it's for free. It becomes the next air.
So what happens to the people that make money off of the oil industry and
So the point is the industries will change. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things that you're starting to see is that the technology is moving at such a pace, at an exponential rate, the thing that companies that used to be around today may not be around in 10 to 15 years. As a matter of fact, I believe that half of the Fortune 500 companies will go bankrupt in the next 15 years. So imagine, the more companies are going to be Kodak before they become Uber. Right?
Right.
Right. Here's the very interesting part. Even companies like Uber who are disrupting the industries, they will get disrupted before they get a chance to even become a public company. And that is the kind of pace that is really hard to fathom, that here is a company that is disrupting everything and is barely mature enough to go public before someone comes around and the company is gone. And here's why I say that. Mm-hmm. The Uber's biggest advantage is they are able to essentially create a driver network around the world, and these drivers becomes their assets, so people can go find these drivers.
Right.
As soon as you get the self-driving cars, the driver is the car manufacturer. Mm-hmm. In a sense, the Tesla can become Uber on same day they decide they want to be in this business. And if Tesla and say GM or GM and Ford, they all have the self-driving cars. If they partner together, the Uber is history in a day because everybody has a car. So my point is, that is the mindset.
Well, the mindset you're talking about, what was your first initial thing that was over the top? Like you go, I have to make this happen. Can you remember your first major thought towards that? This seems unattainable, but I'm going to try.
As you're growing up in humble beginnings, and when you have nothing, so to you, the everyday, the life becomes that challenge. I'm going to make tomorrow better than it is today.
Right.
And that simple thing, when you start to believe that tomorrow is going to be better than it is today, changes everything. The reason people do stupid things is because they become helpless and hopeless. When they believe tomorrow is going to be no better than it is today or yesterday, then they feel there is no hope. The minute that mind's just that change, that tomorrow will be better than today, changes everything.
Well, it definitely. And I know what you're saying. And now, what year did you come to the United States? I'm curious, how long have you been here?
So I've been here for 35 years now. So
okay. Yeah. So you've gone through several companies. You've got several going at the same time, right?
Yes.
And so you're all over the board of what you're interested in, but they're all the things I'm interested in, I've noticed, because I was a pharmaceutical rep and I have a medical background. So I'm fascinated by your company that deals with that. Yeah. And I'm also fascinated that you want to mine the moon and whatever you're doing up there. So which company you want to start with first?
Well, I don't want to start with any company, as a matter of fact, because I don't want this interview to be about me or who I am or patting myself and look how wonderful I am. I want everyone listening to it is to start thinking about what can they do? How does it apply to them? What is their moonshot? So I want to use what I am doing simply as an example of what is possible. Right. So, for example, think about someone who is coming from India, growing up in poverty, coming here with absolutely nothing and barely speaks the language. Even today, if you look at these 100 reasons why I have no right to be successful. I don't look like them, whatever the them is. Yeah. I don't talk like them. Mm-hmm. I have this thick accent that every other word people have no idea what I'm saying. Right? But the point is that becomes your asset. Because you are different doesn't mean it is bad. That difference can be the advantage you take off. So, for example, when someone who speaks a fluent English, when they speak, you can tune out and you can still understand the kind of what they're saying. When you have someone with this thick Indian accent, you pay 100% of your attention or you miss everything. Right. Now, when I'm talking, you have to listen to me.
I'm listening. Yes. You've got a very good American accent, I have to say. Well, you were like Arnold Schwarzenegger, though. You have that little bit of an accent, just enough to make it cool. You know what I mean? So
I love you too.
Well, we have so much that you do, though, that you don't want to talk about you, but I'm interested in just people want to know what your life is like, though, to some extent. You know what I mean? I mean, how many billionaires? I interviewed Ken Fisher, who's the billionaire behind Fisher Investments, and I was so curious, what's his day like? I'm curious what your day's like.
I tell you, that is a really not an interesting question, or really, I would say, if I was not being polite, it's a really dumb question. And here's why.
Don't sugarcoat it for me.
And here's why I tell you that. Because people, this idea of following the habits of people who are successful is really easy. People write the book, 7 Habits of Successful People. To me, that is a wrong thing to do. Because what you want is to follow how they think, not what they do. For example, Tony Robbins takes an ice bath every morning. You can take an ice bath 3 times a day and you're not going to become Tony Robbins.
Right.
You become Tony Robbins by thinking like Tony Robbins, not by acting like Tony Robbins. So when people say, hey, I want to know what you do, so if I somehow do that, it is going to make me like you. No, what you really want to do is the way I do things, how I think about the problem. And that's what I want to focus is that, for example, what are the biggest problems facing humanity? And the reason is people have this idea the big problems can only be solved by people with lot of resources. And what I find is the smaller problems are much more harder to do than the big problems are. And so, for example, Diane, when you set out a goal that is so audacious, that is something that people can say, oh my God, I want that to be my legacy. I want to be part of making that happen. So, for example, when we decided we're going to go to the moon, we didn't say, oh my God, there is no private company has ever done that. How can we think about a small group of people can do that? And wait a sec, don't we need permission to go to the moon? How are we going to get that permission? That will never happen. And by the way, even if you're able to do all that and we bring back all the material, there is no law that says we're going to own it. Right? So you can come up with every possible reason why it made no sense to do. I, as an entrepreneur, looked at it very differently. We said, look, we don't know how we are going to get there. But we know that technology is moving so fast that it's going to get cheaper and cheaper, because the kind of things we need to do are the kind of things that people are using them in mass production devices. So everything that's making our cell phones cheaper, faster, and thinner are exactly the kind of things we will need to get the spacecraft landing on the moon. Things that are making the self-driving cars possible are the same thing we're going to make our self-driving spacecraft possible. So if these things are being sold in millions and billions of quantities, somehow the prices will keep coming down. So we realized that even though everyone thought the price is going to be landing on the moon is going to be $1 billion, I was convinced we could bring it down to 100 million or under. Guess what happens? As we start to get closer, we are now 6 months away from launching the mission to the moon, and our cost is going to be $7 million. So think about that. Under $10 million.
That's
right. Yeah. And that is a big change. And here we sit here. We have now the only company that has a permission to leave Earth orbit and land on the moon. And President Obama signed into the law that everything we bring back, we get to own it. Right? Wow. So what's the lesson here? As an entrepreneur, you always say the best thing you can do is to take action. Go do it, and always say, I will cross that bridge when I get there. But here's the second part. When you cross the bridge, you burn the bridge behind you.
No one else can do it, right?
There's no going back.
Oh.
And here's why. Okay. Because the minute you know you have a plan B, it becomes a plan A.
Ah, I see. You know, it's very important. I know. You don't want to have that crutch, right?
Yes, right.
Well, okay, so when you're going to the moon, when you're thinking that you want to go to the moon, that's so different than thinking about a company that you're curing diseases at the cellular level. So how do you split your mind? You said we need to think like you, right? Yeah. How can we think like you? To do two things like that, so different.
Always start and saying, why would you want to go to the moon, and why would you want to do something else, right?
Yeah.
So the way I look at the stuff and saying, if you want to be a billionaire, and if you want to create a $1 billion company, actually it's really, really easy. All you have to do is solve a $10 billion problem.
That's it.
That's it.
Done. Right? Interview's over, right?
So that's it. So my point is, think of what are those 10 billion or $100 billion problems that need solving. And if you can solve them, then you can you can do tremendous good in the world, and you can do tremendously well. And that is the point I'm trying to make, is that in today's society, it used to be that either you did good as a nonprofit or you did well as for profit. Mm-hmm. And what's really happening is the world is coming together where doing good and doing well actually are one and the same thing. So if you want to do a small good in the world, you do a nonprofit. If you want to do a large good in the world, then you do for profit, because profit is the engine that allows you to scale to help billions of people. Even if you are the richest man in the world, you're going to run out of money by helping 1 million people.
Yeah, right.
But if you want to...
You're like John Mackey, you believe in the conscious capitalism type of thing.
And it's not just a conscious capitalism. It is the only capitalism in the long term, which is The reason people buy your product is because you constantly are serving them with the needs they have.
Mm-hmm.
So you can help billion people, you will create a $10 billion company, right? So you just help.
Well, all you have to do is cure cancer then, right?
Well, actually, not even just cure cancer.
No, but I mean, you make it sound simple. You know what I mean?
It's too small. But the point is, curing cancer is too small a thinking.
Oh, it is.
Now, it is. And here's why. Why would you say just cure cancer? You start to think about why does someone develop cancer? Why does someone develop Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or depression or obesity or anxiety or diabetes, or pick a name you want, autoimmune diseases?
Mm-hmm.
All of these diseases, the fundamental reasoning behind them is the same. Our pharmaceutical models have really created these silos where
right.
we basically take a certain set of symptoms and we name a disease after it, right? And the reason they do that is so they can have one drug, one disease, right?
Right.
Right? But underlying is the same symptom. The symptom is a chronic inflammation causes chronic diseases.
Right.
Cancer is a inflammatory disease.
Right.
Alzheimer is an inflammatory disease. Depression is an inflammatory disease, and so is a Parkinson's and obesity and diabetes. Every one of them comes because our immune system is really gone haywire, which is being trained by our gut microbiome. Mm-hmm. And we say, okay, so first realization has to come in saying, we are not alone.
Okay. Uh-huh.
When we are in this human body, somehow we have this feeling of it is our genes, our DNA. And this, if we can somehow keep this pure human DNA in our body, we are healthy people. And as Diane, you and I both know that our human DNA only produces about 19,000 genes, right?
Right.
The earthworm produces 20,000.
Yeah.
So what makes us so different and so complex is that, a microbial ecosystem that's inside our gut on top of us, that's producing 5 to 10 million genes. So imagine, from the nature's perspective, we are basically a beautiful container for these microbial ecosystems.
Right.
So a little bit of human DNA sprinkled into it.
Right.
But, and that's the beauty of the thing is, now, whereas our food industry and our pharmaceutical industry doesn't care about that ecosystem. So when you are sick, they give you antibiotics. It's like throwing a nuclear bomb because you saw a bad person.
Right.
As opposed to really nurturing the ecosystem. So when we eat the GMO food, right? When we're eating the processed food, when we are only eating a certain diet and we just don't have enough fiber in the diet, what's happening is we are not feeding the whole ecosystem. So the diversity is dying. And that's the reason when you only have certain things being fed and other ones are not there, then your body doesn't know what's going on. And the other microbes, they start to eat the mucus inside the gut lining, and you start to see the food starts to go in the blood. The microbes, that are supposed to be inside the gut, now the leaky gut is causing them to go in the blood. And the immune system is now responding with inflammation. And suddenly, in one person, that inflammation may cause cancer, and someone else it may be Alzheimer's. In one person, it may show up as obesity. In someone else, it may show up as diabetes. Here is a thing that I find fascinating, Diane, that I think you will love, is that our gut, to some extent, I believe, is our primary brain. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Right? And the things on top of our shoulder, right? It is not only our primary brain, it is the puppet master. And if you look at the research that's coming out in the last 1 year, it clearly shows that our emotions and our anxiety and our behavior is actually controlled by the microbes in our gut, including our sleep cycle, right? So interesting thing is, it pulls the string and our brain just simply reacts to it. So when we say we are hungry, it's not we, it's they who are hungry.
Them. All right. Them. Everything's them. Well, It's so fascinating because how do you obviously know the problem, which I agree with you. I from all my training, everything, it stems from the gut. But how do you fix it? I mean, that's the problem, right?
Well, it's a problem or it's a massive opportunity, right? So
Right,
coming
right.
back to it is once you realize the medical system is not dealing with it is a massive opportunity for an entrepreneur to come and do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to see.
Don't worry.
Yeah, okay.
I can hear you.
So as an entrepreneur, once I realized the problem was understanding what is going on inside the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to see what technologies are at your disposal. And one fine day, I was at Los Alamos National Lab, and they were talking about the work they're doing for the biodefense work. And the biodefense work, you have to know if a bad actor were to do something crazy, how would we know what is going on inside the body?
Yeah, right.
So guess what they did? They developed an amazing technology that can look inside the body and tell you who is there, how active are they, and what they're doing.
Wow. Now, is that like the little camera things that you swallow? Is that what you're talking about?
No. This is a simple RNA sequencing.
Oh.
So you basically take a swab of your fecal matter, and now you're able to look at every single organism, whether it's a bacteria, whether it is a virus, whether it is fungi, yeast, or mold. Mm-hmm. Every one of these organisms, who they are, how active they are, because you're looking at RNA. That means they're only alive and they're replicating. Mm-hmm. The most important part is, what are they doing? Are they producing short chain fatty acids? Are they producing the vitamins? Are they producing the nutrients that body needs? And all of those things you're able to do through this technology. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I saw this, we got the exclusive license and I created this company. So now think about it. I'm not a scientist. I don't have a computer degree. I have no medicine degree, and I have nothing else. But I decided this problem was worth solving because there are billions of people who could be helped by this.
Okay, what degrees do you have, by the way? Do you have an education? No,
I do have an education, but my education is completely irrelevant to every company I have done. Mm-hmm. And Diane, that's another point I was going to make, was that having done now 7 companies, I've never started 2 companies in the same industry, because my belief is, once you become good at something, mm-hmm. you only improve it incrementally by 10% or 15%. And if you want to change something 10 times or 100 times, you have to challenge the foundation of what experts have taken it for granted, right? Hmm. So space, I did space exploration, and I don't have a rocket science or aeronautical engineering. Mm-hmm. I am doing healthcare, and I don't have a degree in medicine. I'm mm-hmm. not even a scientist. I did my first company that actually became one of the largest top 100 companies in the country, was on smartphones before there were any smartphones. Uh-huh. So my point was, in late 90s, 7 years before Steve Jobs announced iPhone, there is an interview that you can Google. I did in year 2000 with Washington Post, a reporter named Leslie Walker. Uh-huh. And I said, one day people are going to have a phone that is going to get their email, contact, and calendar. They'll be able to use their phone to make a payment. And when they drive by the Starbucks, they'll be able to get the Starbucks coupon. And everyone thought, that's crazy. It's never going to happen in our lifetime, because we have these Palm Pilots and pagers right. and these flip phones. How would you get? So people's idea was, how would this flip phone have all these features?
Right.
I was thinking, how would Palm Pilot become the phone?
Right.
And my point was, that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. Steve Jobs made the Palm Pilot the phone.
Right. Did you think of trying to do that?
No. So what I did is actually did better than that. We built the services as if somebody's going to build those phones. Okay. And that company, I took it public, and at its prime, the company was worth $35 billion.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you've done some amazing things. Okay, but you say you're not a doctor. You don't have that medical. How do you know how to fix this then, if you aren't? I mean, you can read the studies and you can look at technology, but how do you know how to fix these things?
So interestingly, Diane, and again, this is what I want your audience to take away. So the way what I do is, first thing is, I basically went to Singularity University. So just to learn the foundation of all the different technologies. So they spent 7-8 days, you're not talking about 7-8 years. They one program where you know it just enough the vocabulary for nanotechnology, the neuroscience and artificial intelligence and genetics and epigenetics and all these things. And suddenly you're saying, okay, so I have a vocabulary. Right. Then what I do is every day, I spend 2 to 3 hours every day just reading on my Twitter feed only the science articles in every industry. And what's happening was before I started Wyome, I started to see that everyone is starting to talk about this microbiome causing multiple sclerosis. Microbiome is involved in Parkinson's. Microbiome is involved in diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And I started to see the pattern that microbiome seems to be the one that's a core. So now I have all these dots that I have collected. The missing dot was how do you find out who these microbes are? And as soon as I heard at Los Alamos, my light bulb went off, connected the dot.
Yeah, right. So now that you've got that, how long till you fix the problem?
Yeah, so that's basically now the interesting part is now that I have a technology and I know what the problem is, I still don't know what to do. Right. But by setting this audacious goal that says, what if we can create a world where disease is optional? That moonshot allowed the people around the world to come and say, I want to do it. So I always tell people, you inspire great people. And my job is to inspire them to show the possibilities. And when people are hesitating, and I always remind them, you and I have a chance to watch the history being made every single day. Right. It's only once in our lifetime, and we get a chance to make the history. And are you going to let go of that time today?
Right. Well, I mean, this would be obviously an unbelievable thing if you can do this. And I'm curious, what kind of time frame do you see for this? I mean,
we actually launched the company 3 months ago. We have thousands of people who are already using the service and benefiting from it. So people who are have essentially found that medical system has failed them.
Right.
Basically, our healthcare system, to large extent, is a symptom suppression system. They don't even cure the symptoms; they suppress the symptom. And every time they suppress one symptom, they cause 3 more symptoms. And you know why? Because they can sell you more drugs, right?
Right.
Our pharmaceutical companies have become the parasite on humanity. Right.
They love you for saying that, I'm sure, right?
That is the truth. Our healthcare system now.
I understand, though, completely what you mean. I mean, yeah.
Our healthcare system believes the only stakeholder in the systems are the insurance companies, hospitals, doctors, unions, and pharmaceutical companies. And when you remind them, what about the patient? They say patient is not a stakeholder because patient does not pay.
Right.
Patient is a nuisance that we have to deal with to get the money from insurance.
That's awful, isn't it?
Isn't that awful? Now imagine if you and I together can empower the patient with the information and the recommendation they need to take care of themselves. Well, they become the CEO of their own health.
You know, and there's so much information about health now because of the internet. But so there's information overload for people. So how do they know what information's going to help?
So what we do is we don't give them the health information. We give them their information, what is happening inside them, and how you can control simply using diet. Right?
So what kind of advice do you give based on what you've learned?
So basically, if you go to Wyome.com, which is V as in Victor, IOME.com, you can see what we are doing is looking at your gut intelligence, looking at your metabolic intelligence, and then we say, based on the microbes in your gut and how you digest carbohydrates, fat, and protein, and what type of metabolites you have. And we are able to say you really need to eat the following foods that are really good to balance your microbe and that your immune system will be calm with that. And here are the foods you must avoid right now. So the thing that really is, there is no such thing as universal healthy diet. So when someone says, paleo diet is good for you, or Atkins diet is good for you, or ketogenic diet is good for you. The point is there is no diet that is good for you and I. And here's why. between you and I, our DNA is 99% the same. Our microbes are less than 5% the same. Think about that.
Really?
Yeah. So that means a diet that's good for you is not good for me necessarily. And a diet that's good for me today may not be good for me 3 months or 6 months from now.
Why not?
Because what happens is as you start to eat a food, your microbes are changing. Your body is adapting. Your immune system is changing. And the microbes that you're feeding, now they're growing and others are coming down. And now you start to keep the balance. Otherwise, if you keep eating, they become imbalanced.
Right. Well, okay. So I could already hear my foodie friends asking a certain question. They're going to go, well, that's no fun. I want to be a chef. I want to cook these fancy meals and eat here and eat there. What do you tell them?
And that is exactly what they should be doing, cooking fancy, diverse meals within the set of things that are not causing grief. And
what if chocolate's on that list, though, you know?
This is very interesting one, Diane, you're going to love. For me, I was denying myself all the pleasure. So here's what was happening. I was trying to lose 10 pounds and I'm pre-diabetic. So everyone told me I need to cut down all the bread. That didn't work. Cut down all the starch. And I'm a vegetarian. So I'm eating now only lentil, legumes, tofu, and veggies because no bread and no yuck, right? And I'm miserable. For a year, guess what happened? Didn't lose the weight. My blood glucose didn't go down. I launched Viome. I am the first guy to do the test. And I'm thinking they're going to put a picture of me as a healthy person, right? Not so. It turns out what I needed to be eating is more carbohydrate. More than 50% of my diet needs to be carbs.
But aren't carbs inflammatory, though?
Carbs are not inflammatory. It is the grains and the way we produce grains are inflammatory. You can get carbs from vegetables.
What about sugar, though? Sugar is inflammatory, isn't it?
Sugar is inflammatory, right? So my point is carbs are veggies, right? Broccoli is carbs.
Right.
Carrot is carbs.
Right. Starchy, certain carbs are worse than others, right?
That's right. So I'm eating now, as soon as I start eating more carbs, suddenly not only I lost 10 pounds and my blood glucose came down, right? So my point was every girl wants my microbiome now, right? Every girl wants to kiss me because hoping I get my microbiome now, right?
I am sure they do. I think that's great. But you're so funny.
Just kidding.
So, well, you know, I have always kind of thought that, though, that, you know, everybody's so different that I don't like. But then you get the people that go with the blood type diets. You got this type diets.
That is a problem because
how do you know if it's for real?
Yeah, here's why. Because at the end of the day, the food is being digested by our microbes. Our microbes are the one that are feeding the nutrition to us. So in a sense, your small intestine is only taking the easy stuff out, the glucose and all the stuff out. The hard stuff, all the nutrients, the short chain fatty acid. By the way, you may not realize 70% of serotonin is produced in your gut, not in your brain.
Yeah, I did know that. And that's huge for people. So how can you increase your serotonin? Foods. Which foods? Which ones?
But that's
chocolate? Please come back to chocolate and tell me that's high on the list.
The answer is you have to, there is no such
know what you are,
person, right? So we have to look at what microbes are in your gut and how do you feed them? How do you grow them, the prebiotic, and how do we give you additional microbes that will allow you to eat chocolate? So prebiotic, probiotic, food, nutrition.
So you still think you should take supplements of some sort?
But only until a point where you start to get your microbes to start producing the things that are lacking in your body, right?
Well, so, how long did it take you to feel better and notice a difference?
3 months.
It did?
Yeah. And by the way, we have thousands of people who are, every day they use our service and they call and say, oh my God, I'm off my drugs. I feel so much better now, right? So for me, having those people who are, we're changing the lives of billions of people. And by the way, creating an amazing company at the same time.
Right. Well, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, I think it's a really great thing to if it works and you make it's, I believe you from what you're saying, because I think that I know so many people that suffer from so many things and they all are tied to the gut.
The science, if you go to our website, viome.com and look at our science, there are science papers that show you about depression to diabetes to every single disease. In fact, by the way, yesterday there were 2 papers produced on multiple sclerosis and how microbes are actually causing and influencing multiple sclerosis and development and reignition.
Well, my husband reads all this. My husband's a doctor and he's a plastic surgeon, but he loves all this stuff. So he's got to meet you. He's going to love you. So you got to come to Phoenix. We'll hang out.
I'm going to be there actually. I'm coming for this event, a genius marketing event.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Well, we'll meet.
Yes. I'm going to see there. I'm going to be speaking there.
I know you are. And I read your moonshot thing, and that's one of the things that made me want to talk to you again about this. So yeah, stay an extra day. We'll go out. We'll hang.
Done. Consider it done.
That'll be fun. But I think all of this is really fascinating. I mean, I think of my training as a pharmaceutical rep when I was younger, and I agree with you. I think the pharmaceutical companies sell a lot of things that we don't need, and I think that people—
You're not going to say they're a parasite on humanity, will you?
I'm calling everybody I know and sending them this. No, I agree though that they really have a lot of things they do that they shouldn't be doing, and I think that people are trying to solve a problem and they're doing the best they can with what they know. But now you know something new, right? So now that you know this something new, you can do something. And I'm curious of okay, is it just food and supplements that, based on what your specific, flora is and all that? Or is it something else that they have to do as well?
So no, so basically the foods and supplements and probiotics. But it's not just the gut flora. Gut flora is the major part of it, but we also look at the host side. So the host side, we are going to be adding things like urine metabolites. So, the organic acids, the amino acids, and what cycles functionally are not complete. So what cofactors you need? Do you need CoQ10, magnesium, zinc? What's missing in your body that we can give so that you have full energy? Looking at the mitochondrial gene expression, looking at blood gene expressions, looking at the blood microbiome that nobody has looked at it, that the whole microbial system in our blood that people thought was sterile. So imagine when you're giving a blood based on just a blood type, what's happening, you're also transferring those microbes that may have been commensal or normal or benign in one person may cause a low-grade inflammation in someone else.
That's interesting.
Right? And that's the research, by the way, Stanford just published 2 weeks ago about the blood microbiome. Right? So my point is, we are at this cutting edge. And the thing is, the technology is now allowing us to bring the cost down to a consumer point. That means to do an RNA analysis. Even today, but for this technology we received from Los Alamos, would cost $2,000 to $3,000. The technology we received from them is allowed us to do that for under a couple of $100, right? So think about that. So a couple of $100, we're able to look at everything that's happening inside your body and apply the artificial intelligence to this massive amount of data. So think about it.
So okay, so what else? Okay, so you can figure out what you need to eat. Can you figure out what diseases you might get from this, or can you not?
So remember, we are not FDA, because the minute you talk about a disease, then you have to get through the FDA. So we stay in the land of wellness. In the land of wellness, we can't say we cure obesity, but we can say we help you lose weight. I can't say we cure depression, but we can say we help you improve your mood.
I do remember the differences in the commercials and all the things of what they allow you to say. That's why you get that list of horrible side effects. Because if you say something, you can fix something. You have to also say you do other things, right?
The good thing is we are only talking about food. So it's not like, so I remind our people, if we tell someone you're going to eat broccoli and maybe they should have really eaten more spinach, we're not going to kill them.
Yeah, well, you might if I made me eat spinach. No, I'm just kidding. Do you have, when you got your list, was there something like, do you look at it and you go, oh, I don't want that? Is that really what I have to eat? Or were they things that you could live with?
It's very interesting. The things that I'm supposed to be not eating are the things that I absolutely love. So things I was eating was all wrong. So I was eating lentil, legumes, tofu, avocado, spinach. And guess what? They are on my list of things to avoid.
Well, that's interesting. Now, do you think that it's because we eat so much of one thing, our body starts to attack that thing because we eat too much of it? Because I tend to eat like 5 things and I don't.
That's actually, Diane, that is the big problem, is that I was eating such a restricted diet.
That's how
microbes that were feeding on those diets were really now overgrown, and everything else, since I wasn't feeding them, because I didn't have a diversity of diets. So what's happening is, at least for the next 3-4 months, I need to minimize this diet and increase this diet, which is carbohydrates and fat, so I can grow the other ones. And then we need to start balancing again.
Well, did you get sick at all, though, because you're not used to eating these other things when you put something in that you're not used to?
Well, the interesting thing is genetic. I mean, our microbes, as you may probably appreciate, comes from our mom, right? So a microbial ecosystem doesn't come from dad. So,
right.
Our children, every time they misbehave, I always tell my wife, hey, it's your microbiome, not mine.
That's right. That's right. You got an out.
So my point is that, genetically in our last 10, 20, 30 generations living in the northern India, what do we eat? We eat really the wheat and carbs.
Right.
Our body is very well suited for that. The fact when I went to America, I became this Western diet.
That's what was bad for you, huh?
So going to my original diet was good for me.
That's funny. Well, this is all fascinating. So I'm really wanting to check out your site to do all that, because I think I'm going to do it. I want to try. I want to see what you do.
Not only you should try it, you should make sure everyone listening to it tries it.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my daughters and everybody. I think it's fascinating. And that's fascinating to me. And also I want to know, when are you going to land on the moon now? 6 months? Is that when you?
No, yeah. And
when you get there, what are you you're going to mine it for what?
So it's not just mining it. Our moonshot there is to really create a multi-planetary society, because we are all on a single spacecraft right now called planet Earth. Mm-hmm. And if our spacecraft get hit by a large asteroid, we'll all become dinosaurs, right?
That would not be good, yes.
And that's not going to be a good thing for us, because if you really if you really can hear any dinosaur rolling in their grave, what would they say? If they had one good entrepreneurial dinosaur, they'll be roaming on the moon and the Mars, right?
That's so funny. Yeah, right.
So our job is to really use, to large extent, create this multiplanetary society. In the short term, we bring back the platinum grade material, we bring the moon rocks, and we use the water on the moon to create the fuel depots. We make honeymoon about taking your honey to the moon, not taking your honey to Hawaii, right? There'll be honey Hawaii, honey to the moon, right? Mm-hmm. Bringing the moon rocks back and making those moon rocks really replace these blood diamonds, because everyone gives someone a diamond. If you love her enough, you give her the moon. Don't promise her the moon, give her the moon. Yeah. And
you have quite a collection. I was watching a video of you. Where'd you get what you have?
It's basically, all the craters that you see with the naked eye on the moon, that means some large asteroid hits the moon, and a piece of the moon flies off. Right. And some of that stuff gets captured in the Earth's gravity and falls on places in, Northwest Africa or some places where you can easily see it. And since the invention of money, it's really easy to tell someone how much you love them, right?
Well, you really have an interesting collection. And I watched some of your stuff. You're a fascinating guy. Now, where are you? You're in Seattle?
Right now, it's sunny blue sky in Seattle.
When I went there wasn't a cloud in the sky either. I'm thinking somebody's exaggerating, because it hasn't rained when I've been there. But
honestly, it hasn't rained all summer. I mean, it's been just so beautiful, 85 degrees, beautiful days, and I don't tell anyone.
I was just talking to Mike Federley right before I talked to you from Forbes, the CEO and president, and I said you were going to be on next, and he goes, he's such a nice guy. He's so fun. I'm like, yeah. Are you ever in a bad mood, or are you always like this? Because you seem like you're a happy guy always. I mean,
I think I love
the serotonin that you've been fixing in your gut.
More than that, I have this feeling of life is amazing, because if you believe life is amazing, you make life amazing.
Right. It is. I mean, it's just, your mindset is so important. And I think I'm so excited to see you at the Scottsdale Genius Network event.
I'm going to be there for about 3 days. So let's hang out together with your hubby.
Hang out. Yeah. Get Tony Robbins, you and me, and we'll just go belly up to.
I just saw Tony actually a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah? Well, I have not met him yet, but would like to. He's going to be there, right? I think this year.
He's going to be there. In fact, Peter Diamandis is going to be there. So Peter.
But you two have a lot to talk about, don't you?
Peter and I actually are good friends. I'm on the board with him at X Prize Foundation at Senior University, and he's an investor in my company, so we all have fun together.
Well, he's pretty impressive. I was watching his talks from last year, and wow, what an interesting guy.
I love Peter. I just love Peter. He's such a sweetheart.
I haven't met him, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. It's going to be a great event. Joe really knows how to put together an interesting group of people, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Actually, he brought in some really, really good people, and I think that he's going to have some really serious people, and some of them are secret.
Oh, really? Well, you'll have to tell me when we're not on video.
Yeah.
I'll get it out of you. But no, I'm really excited, and I think it'll be one of the events where I don't know. I just like how everybody shares what they do, and I'm really gonna love hearing what people's moonshots are, because he sent out a note to everybody to have them come up with these ideas.
Yes.
I would like to see, in Matrix, how they put the information right directly into your brain. Can you just create that, since you've got these great ideas?
It's already happening to some extent. It's right now the output and input using a cell phone. So our memories are being actually outsourced to a cloud, because we don't remember phone numbers anymore. Our decision making is now outsourced to the cloud when you use Google Maps, right? Mm-hmm. People don't have to remember where to go.
Coming in, not going out. How do you?
Coming in is going to be, Elon is working on the brain-computer interface, and there are a lot of other ways of putting the information. The best way to put information is to take a lot of information out first.
Okay.
There are things that are immaterial, like facts. Do we really need to remember that Abraham Lincoln was born?
Well, I agree with you, since I didn't do very well in my history courses. Those facts are gone. But I think it's going to be very fascinating to see what your beautiful mind and all the beautiful minds out there come up with, because it's really impressive what you do, Naveen. I mean, I am honored to get this chance to even have this chat with you, and I can't wait to see you in a month or two.
I'm absolutely looking forward to it, and I'm going to be tuning in on Monday and listening to the interview.
It's going to be on, and I'll be sharing it all over, because we're going to put yours on with Mike Federley's and the Forbes 100th anniversary special. So this is like a big week, all these fancy things happening. And
would you send me a link, please?
I definitely will. And thank you so much for doing
that.
I loved having you on the show, and you've got some interesting friends. I can't imagine what your cocktail parties are like.
Oh, we have a blast.
I bet. Well, I'd love, we're really going to have fun in Scottsdale. So
I look forward to it.
Okay. Thanks.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.